Founder and CEO of Melvin March, international owners of Kenya's largest flavored tea brand, Melvin Teas. Flora has extensive local and international experience in strategic leadership, business development, market penetration, and marketing. She holds an MBA from the University of Cape Town, a BSc in Finance and Accounts from the United Kingdom. She's the first female chairperson of Kenya's Association of Manufacturers since its inception. She has also been appointed to sit on several boards, both in the private and public sector. Flora is passionate about business and mentors entrepreneurs, particularly women. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mrs. Flora Mutahi.
Thank you. Sorry.
Good morning, everyone. Ekaro. Habari ya asubuhi. That is what we say in Kenya, and you're supposed to say muzuri. Thank you. So thank you very much for that very welcome and elaborate introduction. It is truly an honor to be on this platform today. And I noted the rebrand, from Platform Nigeria to Platform Africa. And I just want to congratulate you and Pastor Poju for this. And we must invite you to actually host an East African platform. So despite my many accolades, I'm simply known as the Tea Girl. Very simple. And today I want to take you on a journey of building, a journey of scaling, and most importantly, of reimagining an Africa through entrepreneurship. So the person who spoke before me, we've listened to the Africa's reality. We are rich in land holding. 60% of the world's arable land is on this continent. We have the youngest population. We discussed the mid-age of 19, and I can see quite a few. Consumer spending is expected to be 2.3 trillion by 2030. We are rich. We're actually very rich. But yet Africa is challenged with high unemployment, poor infrastructure, limited capital, health challenges, poverty, and fragile businesses. But I want to say that this is a reality, yes, but it is something we can solve. Meaning we stand at a very defining moment right now. We have the potential, but is potential enough? We must act boldly, strategically, and we must act together, which is why I was saying that the inclusion of Africa together is so important. Our governments have seen the importance of putting together the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, meaning we can move, or we should be able to move freely. I'll give you a story on that. This is a once-in-a-generation opportunity. How many of us have looked at it? To trade with each other, to build resilience industries, and maybe to be able to employ our own youth. So today I want you to imagine with me an Africa that solves her own problems, feeds herself, exports to the rest of the world, where our youth are not actually begging for jobs, but creating them. And this is the Africa I want to say that we want to build together. Vibrant, strong, and unstoppable. How are we going to do this? If we look at our challenges in 4 thematic areas that I've put out in front of you, the The first one I've put is industrialization and value addition. Africa actually loses 82 billion annually from raw material commodity. You heard I'm in tea. Kenya exports 91% of her tea as in bulk. Only the remainings for local and value addition. Cacao, shea butter, even oil, diamonds. There's so much that we are losing. What happens? 70 to 80% of jobs, of profits, are captured outside of this continent. And yet, remember, we said we are rich. So until we become selfish enough and say, we want this to stay here, I think that is when we are going to do it. And my argument is, all the people who registered here, you're entrepreneurs. It is you people who are going to do it. Look at the triple environmental threat. Africa loses 50 billion annually to land degradation, deforestation, climate change. We only contribute 3 or 4%, but yet we are one of the largest losers. We suffer droughts, soil erosion. But the worst thing is it's destroying the very same richness that we own, the land, the minerals, our people. They can't work if they're hungry. We have underdeveloped social systems. We still carry 70% of the world's poorest, despite being the richest in natural resources. Education, health, food security, underdeveloped. And then we get the aid coming to help us, and we clap, and we are so happy. But aid is short-term. Can we not look for solutions that empower us to sort our own problems? Technology. Africa has just 1% of the global data centers and less than 5% of the less 5% of the global digital value creation. I think one of the speakers before me spoke about this. Where our youth are digitally hungry, we must move from being digital consumers to actually owning the data and building it here. A lot of our youth are yes, creating digital solutions, but sitting on platforms. And I think Kola is the one who told us, if somebody owns the data, they own the customer. We need to do it here. Who will solve these challenges, I'm asking? Governments? Government's work is to set an enabling environment. They do that through policies, through laws, through agreements. They don't do business. So we have shrinking jobs, we have broken systems that cannot absorb Africa's youth bulge. You heard what our numbers are going to be, 2.4. And my argument is you guys here, and globally and online, are going to be the solution. Entrepreneurship is the most powerful source for transformation. It is not an option. If we want to move this continent, it needs to be done. So today I'm here to share my story, my contribution to the value addition challenge around tea. So my entrepreneurial journey began in 1995. Yes, you've heard correct. 29, almost 30 years ago. Actually, to be 30 years ago, end of this year. And it began with a conversation on a dining table. We were having lunch, and they brought me lunch with the family, and there was a plate that had the salt. And I'm like, why is this salt not flowing from the salt shaker? And they said, you know, I think my mother is the one who said, do something about it, but don't complain, you know, it's lunchtime. So that stuck with me, and we didn't live far from a university. So I drove up to the university in the afternoon, and I went to the food technology department, and I asked the professor there, can I learn? I know there's free-flowing salt. It should be dry. It should stay dry. Our conditions are not so crazy. Can you help me do this? And he says, have you done food technology? I said, no, I was a business student. And he says, so what business do you have here? I say, I want to learn. Will you teach me? And I think he was very intrigued with my naivety. Obviously, I was now 20. I was in my mid-20s. And he said, fine, if you commit to come here maybe a couple of weeks, maybe 2 weeks, every afternoon, I'm free. I will teach you how to become a food technologist. So we went through the process, and those who know me, my life is always in a hurry, so I was always rushing, and then. So I think within 3 weeks, I sort of knew all the principles. I even now find out what machinery I need, and then came the next problem. I had no money. So I was like, oops, what do? I go back home and I say, can I have some money? And they're looking at me like, no. Because when I started my journey 29 years ago in Kenya, employment was what we did. You got a job. I mean, you went to school, you got a job, and once you got a job, your parents have done their work. So when I came and told my parents I want to go into business, they're asking me, what's wrong? Why would you want to do this? I was employed only for 9 months, but I knew inside me there was more. And so I came home and I said, I've quit and I need money and this is what I want to do. And they told me, no. That's not why we brought you. That is not our plan for you. We think you should have stayed in your employment, so you do you. So I went out and I looked for funding and I found a backing. It was some funding where if you put up half the collateral, they'll give you the other half. So I went quickly and I came back home and I said, please, I found this money. And they said, listen, if you wanted to do business, you should have saved something. So listen, guys, start saving. So I didn't know what to do again. But anyway, thank God for mothers. We thank ladies earlier, Thank God for mothers. She said, fine, I will give you this much. Not a lot, but I bought my first machines and I made my product and I took it to market. I sold my first dozen, two employees. I sold my first dozen, put it in the market. Then the next place I went, I said, hotels are the ones who need this product the most. So I went to a hotel and I tried to, so they were so impressed. They said, give me 100 dozens. I had no money, so I didn't know what to do. That day I was at home, I went to visit my friend and I was telling the mother, she said, come, I'll lend you the money. So she lends me the money. It was maybe $100 at the most. Salt is a very cheap commodity. So she lends me the money and I make my $100 and I deliver and I say, please pay me because I have somebody I have to pay in 4 days. They told me 90 days later. I said, what? They said, this is how we work. So please be prepared. If you want to do a business, please be prepared. So I come in and I say, no, I've borrowed this money, and the way I've been brought up, I can't even tell my parents I borrowed money from a friend's mother. So I said, I'm going to wear these guys down. And I went every day, trying to get money from them. And this gentleman was sitting there and he says, my mother is disturbing me. Can I deal with her? I said, fine. So he's dealing with the mother and he says, she's packing tea. And I said, why is she packing tea? She said, there's a government monopoly that was lifted very recently. And there's an opportunity where she's buying. So I said, buying at what price, selling at what price? Remember, I'm desperate. That's a Thursday. By Monday, I was in the auction in Mombasa. I was learning about tea. I went quickly, I told them I need to learn everything about tea. At the same time, please register me because this is going to be my next product. So they, in the evening, these gentlemen told me, we will register you, but I think you're being very assumptuous. This is a profession that has been run for decades. A tea taster is like a wine taster. Do not belittle this industry. So I said, sure, gentlemen, I'll meet you. So that evening, we went out, and they gave me a lecture I remember to date. But the long and the short of it, on my way back home it was the coastal town, Mombasa, I thought about what they said, and I said, what if I'm being too ambitious? So I got home, I went and I started making my tea. Now, for those Gen Zs who are here, you know very well, if your mom does A, you want to do B. If your mom does B, you want to do C. So my mom used to drink a lot of tea. And who used to make it? Myself. So I'm good at making this tea and I'm making the tea, but I always wanted it different. So I wanted ginger in my tea, so I put the ginger in my tea. And that is when I got my light bulb moment. I said, why am I struggling to put ginger in my tea? Why can't it be in my tea? So, long story short is I then came out with 2 products. I came out with a plain tea, Melvin's premium tea, and I came up with Melvin's ginger tea. And I put them in the market. Guess which worked and which did not work? The innovative one worked. They said, bring this one. This other one, actually, I think we are only allowed to sell one. I say, no, the monopoly has been lifted. They say, we don't care. We want this other one. And that is how my journey began. So from there, we then moved on to other flavors. You can see the timeline there. We went into vanilla. We went into masala, because now that was what the innovation we were made to do. One of the supermarkets then approached me and said, we like the way you do your packaging. Can you do some contract packing for us? We said, yes, sure. And they said, please do rice. I said, rice? But remember, I like challenges. So quickly, I found out where the machine comes from. It comes from China. They're very good with their rice. I got an engineer. We did the water, and we started doing the work. We started packing rice for them, but not for ourselves. And I got very excited. It's a very whatever. My business is still growing. So let me pack that story and say, as I was still growing my business, I went to the USA. And I said, now, because tea became very intriguing. At the time, 97% of our tea was exported in bulk. I said, we have to change this story. I'm going to change this story. We are going to... So I go to the States. Remember, undercapitalized, small, not really well branded. And I got one distributor who said, yes, I'll take your product, no problem. He got a small consignment. And it was the time of www. I don't know if you guys remember that, websites. And he put me a small little, that is how he advertised my product. Did it move? No. Next year, I told my people I'm going again. I go again. Did it move? No. So I've come with a product that is not working. I'm now doing contract packing in rice. I'm broke. So I went to a microfinance looking for money, and I said, I need money. My business is moving, but I need money. And they said, listen, do this. Let me see your figures. And he looked and he said, my goodness, you don't have a problem you have a management problem. I said, what do you mean? I know what I'm doing. And he said, you have a management problem. You're not collecting your money. And he said, let me do this. Put together a board of advisors, and I will be your first board member. And that is how that came to life. And from there, then I actually started really professionalizing the business. We've gone to certification. We've done herbal teas. We've extended the salt. We've got herbal salts and different types of fruit infusions. You can see from there, 2019, we were honored with a super brand, which is, at least an authentication of a strong brand. We celebrated our 25th Jubilee just 2020 during COVID. This year, we're going to celebrate our 30th. Towards the left, there's a machine you can see there. It's a vending machine. During COVID, we couldn't get into shops. We got into the shops, but we couldn't get to our consumer. So we did some innovation, and we said we want to put our tea, touch of a button like a coffee machine. We wanted to do a tea machine. And that we invented around that time. Then we started noticing from the consumables of this product, we can now come up with instant tea. So we have tea, it has tea, sugar, and milk in one sachet. Why am I saying this? Because it's a clear example of following your customer, and I think Kola spoke about it earlier. I had been asked to share what would I tell my younger self. And I just want to put a disclaimer. Kola and I met in the room earlier. We don't know each other. My principles are going to be very similar to his. Of course, my story is different. So the first one is exactly what he said. Just do it. Start small, start messy, start scared, but start. Of course, dream big. And what I like saying about that one, if your dream does not keep you awake at night, it is not big enough. Solve real problems. 42% of businesses fail because there's no market need. People start a business because Kola started a business, because so-and-so started a business, because somebody else started a business. No. Start a business because you're solving a real problem. And remember the problems, the buckets I was giving you. Those are great problems that need to be solved. Have a solution that you deeply believe in. In the middle of my journey somewhere, I remember it was 6 years before COVID, because I decided I wanted to teach Kenyans how to make a perfect cup of tea. So we came up with Melvin's Tea House, called Melvin's Moments. We went to a posh area in Nairobi, and we started. Now, the skill set of running a manufacturing organization and running a restaurant where you're told we had 6 customers who had breakfast, we had 4 who had lunch, and we had 18 who had, no. It was a perfect example of do something you really believe in, or do it properly. So 6 years later, we looked at this business and said, we really don't have the heart to be in restauranting business, and we let it go. So I want to say, embrace failure early. Fail fast, fail forward. I did my salt. Within a couple of weeks, I realized this is not working. I quickly had to pivot. I listened in the market and I jumped into something else. This is what entrepreneurship pushes you to be. The people who are very rigid, they're very clear where they're going, they know how to go there, they don't want to be told. That is not a characteristic of an entrepreneur. You will not make it. I tried to sell my business because of how slow it was beginning. Building a brand is one of the hardest things you can do. I tried to sell my business not once, 2 times. But, and that's because I was struggling for funds. I started getting burnout. I was doing everything myself. But when the buyer came and gave an offer, I said, no, if somebody really is believing in me, I need to believe in myself. So keep moving. The other thing I would say is evolve or expire. Evolving in business is actually like life. If you don't evolve, you die. I think Kola spoke about the business model, systems and processes. I think that was Zach's. At every stage of your business, you need a different skill set. So make sure that you do standardize, put operation manuals, embrace technology, document and delegate. Don't keep it in your head. Some of you are here and you're nervous. You want to run back to the office. You want to run back and do your business because it's going, it's all here. Give it to somebody else. I think even the Bible says, put it on a stone for others to see it. Your team, do you have the right team for each stage of your growth? Remember, you develop people and then people build your business. Your leadership capacity. To lead is to learn. You're constantly learning. I'm constantly learning even till today. And I'm having so much fun learning from the Gen Zs. Because it would take me half an hour to do one post. These guys do a post like in seconds. A video, don't even give me. And then they'll tell me, oh, did you see the comments? I'm like, no, I didn't see the comments. I don't know. I didn't see the comments. Where am I supposed to look for them? So they'll show me today. Tomorrow, I have no clue where they showed me. So that's what I'm learning. But you guys can also learn from us. Invest in yourself. All my big moves in business, when I've looked at them, were preceded by research, by exposure, by expert advice. Don't try to do it alone. And the other one I would say is work on your business, not in your business. Meaning, when you have to step out to learn, get other people to run the business. When you have to step out to get a consultant, get somebody else to be in your business. When you're having to go and do the compliance issues that we were told about, somebody else can do that for you. But you are the one who always take a step back and scan the room because you're the only one. Nobody else is going to be there. Nobody else is doing it. And ignorance, like I say, is no defense. Brewed to last. I know everybody talks about build to last. I call it brewed to last. Of course, I'm a Tea girl, remember. Too many businesses in Africa are born, they survive, and they die. So for those of us maybe this side of the room, they can tell you many, because we're the older ones, they can tell you how many businesses they've seen die. Our continent has the most entrepreneurs globally, but all small and informal. Not all, but a lot are small and informal and in survival mode. So starting is not our problem, actually. Our problem is scaling, sustaining, and building legacies. How many legacy businesses do we have and can we have on the continent? That is the real challenge for African businesses. And I want to say longevity does not come from longevity comes from thinking long-term and building strategies that can scale. That means investing in people, training and empowering so you can leave them to do the work. Setting up structures for consistency, not chaos. It means governance, putting together a board, people who can help you think. Knowing when to step back and knowing when to let others take the lead. There's always a time where you need to get off the stage and let somebody take that stage so you can pick up the next big burden. Build purpose for brands, thinking beyond just selling. Let's move beyond commodities. Build brands with a voice, with a value and a vision that can stand the test of time. All the brands that the two gentlemen spoke before earlier are brands that have stood the test of time. They're not just selling technology. They're not just selling, they're actually building a brand that can stand the test of time. Build for generations, meaning stop asking yourself, what can I do today? You have to start asking yourself, what can I do 5 years from now? What will my business be doing 10 years from now? What will my business be doing 25 years from now? That is when you're able to build a brand that will last. And that is basically how Melvins has moved from a product to be a household name. We are now in the region and strongly on our way to being a global brand. It has not been linear, but the one thing I'll say is it has been consistent. There's never been a better time to be an entrepreneur in Africa than now. Guys, like we said, we are rich. We have the resources, we have the talents, we even have the problems. And problems to an entrepreneur are the opportunities. We are a hotbed. And who knows a problem more than the wearer of the shoe? It is us. But one critical ingredient that we need to change, I'm going to say, is the mindset. We need to change our mindset on several fronts. Number one, as we continue to operationalize the AfCFTA, the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, our greatest opportunity, remember, our governments themselves also need to be enablers. My own experience has taught me this. So we're supposed to be able to move goods around, right? I asked for a registration with a standards body in one of the African countries. It takes me 6 months. And we actually even have to use the secretariat of the agreement to help push. I get my certification. So then I get my first order and I supply. The officers there decide, in their wisdom, let's see how many tea bags are in this packet. So they open the packet and they count one by one by one. And they say, these are not, again. So I say, give me the batch number. I will prove to you. We can trace it and we know. I mean, we are standardized. We know all that. I registered my company in the first world, in the second world. How is it our challenge is here? So mindset. So the government has done the enabling, but the people, us, the software, I want to call it, we also need to change our mindset. Governance could also be encouraging, give incentives, and create a better enabling environment for us to thrive. But consumers, you guys, and you guys, and you, we also need a mindset shift. We do. The market is large. Remember, we are talking about a consumer base of 2.5 trillion. But a lot of us would still rather wear and carry and drink and eat a brand that the resource has come from here. They've gone and packaged it there, employed themselves and done beautiful packaging, put it in a brand that is theirs, and then we are here saying we enjoy life, we are good, we are happy. Why? 2.5 trillion we are giving away just like that. What if we all made up our minds and said, we will consume as much as possible African products? Let shea butter come to Kenya, let tea come here, let coffee come here, let cacao move. Let us do it here. We need to change our minds. Our jobs, our dollars, and our industries will never expand if we keep our industries starved of numbers. If you know economics, it's a numbers game. Economies of scale. The more I can serve, the better my prices, the better my quality, the better my everything. But if we keep running to the north and to the east, we are the own sufferers. Entrepreneurs, too, we need a mindset shift. Stop the scarcity mentality. Stop focusing on what we lack. You know, business is hard, eh? What we don't have, eh? What we don't have. How many of us say this? I am also guilty. Let us start by building what we have. Let us take bold action. Risk is actually not the enemy. Entrepreneurship is about risk. Fear is the bigger one. Embrace it. Take calculated risks. Don't just build for the short term. Let us build for generations. So for me, what's exciting me now is actually to get others to run businesses by passing on the lessons I have learned, the scars that I have carried for almost 3 decades. So others don't have to walk the short term. And I want to also say maybe all of us this side of the room can offer that kind of learning. I'm passionate about empowering the next generation for African entrepreneurs, and I've penned down an ebook capturing my decades of experience to just help people grow faster. Remember, I said you need to be learning if you want to grow. I also coach and mentor entrepreneurs on an 8-week program. And today, in the aim of passing on, I'm here with my daughter who works in the company. I'm here with my board member who also is a cousin, my cousin. It's a truly family affair. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I draw to a close, Africa holds massive potential, but in need of urgent action. As I circle back to where the conversation began, remember I said, imagine with me an Africa where we feed the world, we create jobs for our people, we export to the rest of the world, and our youth are not begging for jobs, where we create businesses that the world cannot ignore. I want to leave you with this charge. You are the architects. You're not just spectators. Entrepreneurs, let us seize the opportunities and create meaningful solutions. Let us forge the way forward with courage. Let us innovate and do business, not usually, but unusually. Thank you.